Hi everyone, Lisa here with Mini Me in Tennessee, and in today's video I'm going to talk about what it's like to eat after having weight loss surgery. So if this is some information you think you would like to hear, just keep watching. Okay guys, yes, today I'm going to talk about what it's like to eat after having weight loss surgery. And this is some information I think that I would have loved to have heard when I was pre-op. Please keep in mind I'm going to talk about things that I eat personally. And this may or may not be for you, but it may give you an idea kind of what it's like to go from where you are now as a pre-opper to post-op weight loss surgery. You're never going to know exactly until you get there. But to hear it coming from someone who's a bariatric patient might give you a general idea. And please take it with a grain of salt. There may be things that you don't agree with, and that's fine. I'm just telling you what it's like for me personally, and hopefully you will get some information out of it and it will help you in some way. First, I want to talk about what it's like to eat out. Go out to dinner. Before weight loss surgery, this is what it was like for me. I would go out to eat with my husband, generally. We would do that at least probably once a week. And we would order appetizers, and then I would order a big meal. And most of the time I finished it, not always, but most of the time I did. And my choices were not the greatest. I was usually picking things like big cheeseburgers, French fries, and lots of pastas and things like that. And a lot of times I would have dessert as well. And it wasn't sharing dessert, it was my own dessert. Yes, it was. So what's it like for me now? Well, I can tell you I never order an appetizer. There's just no way that my little tummy can handle an appetizer and a meal. Now, I might order an appetizer as a meal if there's a healthier option on the menu, which is generally not always the case, because most of the time those things are fried, right? Not always, but a lot of times they are fried. But never order an appetizer if I'm having a meal. And for my meals, I'm trying to pick healthier options. Instead of ordering lots of cheeseburgers and fries, I typically will order a steak and some sort of vegetable for a side. If I don't have vegetables, sometimes I'll have soup or chili, like Texas Roadhouse, for example. I love their chili, so I'll have a filet and I'll have a side of chili. I typically don't order salads. If it comes with a meal, of course, that's fine, and I'll pick at it. But I typically don't order salad anymore either. If it's bread, yeah, they'll go ahead and bring the bread if it's free. We don't order bread, but if it's part of the meal, we will go ahead and have it because my husband loves bread. And I might take a bite or two, but I don't eat like 3 or 4 pieces like I used to. And another thing that I would say to you when you are eating out, this is probably something that you won't be doing quite as often as you do now, because you really don't know what's going into your food. And if you're someone like me who likes to weigh and measure their food, it's not something you can typically do at a restaurant. Some people do. Some people don't care to pull their scales out and their measuring cups out in a restaurant. But to me, that just drew attention to the fact that I wasn't eating very much anyway. So I don't do that. I just try to eyeball it. But I get used to what eyeballing is by weighing and measuring at home, so it gives me a pretty good idea of what I'm taking in. I've pretty much trained my tummy to this point now that when I eat 6 ounces of food, I'm full. I don't know, that's all I've been able to eat for probably at least a year now. So I've got my tummy trained in that aspect. Not saying it can never change, but for many, many, many months, that's the way it's been for me. And when you are eating out, eat slowly, because typically when you eat out, it might not necessarily be something that you would have at home. You might have a leaner meal at home. When you're going out, it may be a treat for you. So be sure that you're enjoying that meal. So eat it slowly and savor it. That's what I do, especially if you decide to have a dessert. I don't order dessert very much anymore. The only time I order it is on special occasions such as birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. But my husband always only order one dessert so that we can share it, and I will have a few bites and I just eat it really slowly and just really savor it. So I'm tasting it and enjoying the treat. And yeah, that's how I choose to do it now. Another thing that you might experience ordering out, especially in the beginning, is some anxiety about what to order. So I would highly recommend that if you know where you're going and it's not a spontaneous meal out, take a look at their menu and go ahead and try to pick something out. I did find for myself when I first started going out after having surgery, it was very overwhelming, and I experienced a lot of anxiety because I really wasn't sure what I should be ordering. And then there's the fear of missing out on the things that you used to eat and wanting to have those things. But if you go into the restaurant already knowing what you're going to order, and maybe not even taking a look at the menu once you get there, just having it in the back of your head already knowing, it kind of helps to take out some of that anxiety. Fast food after weight loss surgery. Okay. We know that we should avoid fast food because it's probably the least healthiest options that we have out there. But there are times when it may just be necessary. We don't plan ahead, we get stuck out, longer than we had planned, and things happen. So I typically will carry a protein bar in my purse and have a little protein powder in my purse for such occasions, but sometimes that's just not gonna work. And then there's times when you just wanna have something. And that's when you really need to do your homework now as a pre-op or newly post-op. Do your homework now. Go onto the fast food restaurants that you typically visit and check out their menu and look and see what's going to work for you and your diet and your macros. Some good examples, well, if you want to call it good, Wendy's. In the beginning, I would have the chili. The chili is a pretty good option for Wendy's. Chick-fil-A, they have grilled nuggets. That's a really good option. And their sauces, there's a buffalo sauce that has really low carb. I didn't particularly like it, but you might like it. I'm not a big buffalo sauce kind of person. And then I think the next lowest is the barbecue sauce. So that's typically what I would do. And let's see, I don't know of anything that I found at McDonald's, but you might try something there other than a side salad that works for you. Taco Bell was another place I would go. They have a shredded chicken taco, and if you don't mind getting the few little carbs from the shell, or you can eat the insides out of it, but Taco Bell, that's a good option for Taco Bell. So yeah, that's something that I recommend you do, is go ahead, be looking at those places, looking at their menus, looking at the nutrition facts online, figuring out exactly what it is that's going to work for you. That way when you end up having to stop at one of those places, you already know what you're going to order, and it takes a lot of the anxiety out of trying to figure it out while you're at the drive-thru. Dinner parties, cookouts, events. These can be really, really tough, especially early out, because you may not have any clue what they're going to be having. I know a lot of people are comfortable with taking their own foods to things like this. I was not. I was someone who was a closet weight loss surgery person, and there were very few people that knew, and I didn't want to attract attention to myself. So I would just go and just have what I could have. And I remember the very first thing that I came across was just like 2 or 3 weeks out of surgery. My son had a birthday party for my granddaughter, and I was just entering into my soft food stage. Luckily I wasn't still on liquids, but there really wasn't anything there I could have. They had pizza, and guys, oh my gosh, I remember going in and smelling that pizza and wanting it so badly. but being on purees at the time, I couldn't have it. So I had a protein shake with me. I took a protein shake in a tumbler, and that's what I did. Yes, people did keep trying to get me to eat, but I was in a situation then where most people knew that I'd had the surgery, so it wasn't that big a deal. But if you get in a situation where people are trying to figure out why you're not eating and you don't want to tell them, just tell them you're not hungry. Just tell them that you had a big meal before you left. Or if it's somewhere where you can't say that, like you knew that, or you knew that there was going to be food there, and they would be like, well, why did you eat if you knew we were coming? That's a tough one. I never had that situation. I would just say, maybe you have a tummy issue that day. I don't know, but be prepared for stuff like that, because it will happen. Kind of get it in your mind before you get there what you're going to say, and that will help keep you from stumbling over your words and have a plan in place for that. And I think that'll help you out. And a lot of times when you go to these types of things, there will be things you can have there, and just take a few bites of what you can have. Try to aim for the protein and eat what you can. And if they ask you what's going on and you don't want to tell them you have weight loss surgery, just tell them everything that you tried was so delicious, you just don't have much of an appetite that day. And hopefully that works for you. Convenience stores. Sometimes we have to stop at convenience stores. And a lot of times this may be a better option than fast food. I know prior to my surgery, when I would go into a convenience store, I was getting all the things, right? The candy bars, the chips, the ices, the sodas, all those bad sugary things is what I would choose. But now when I go into a convenience store, I'm looking for nuts. I'm looking for protein bars, granola bars. I'm looking for like vitamin water or Powerade, or I'm not a big fan of plain water, but I carry a water enhancer in my purse. So if I pick up plain water, all I have to do is put that in the bottle and shake it up, and I have flavored water. Fast food restaurants, sometimes I'll get unsweetened tea. I carry a little thing of Splenda in my purse so I can sweeten it. So yeah. That was a big change for me for sure, because my favorite thing was Payday candy bars and cherry ices. Oh, and I love Funyuns too. Yeah, miss those. Oh, I miss those. Pizza. Pizza. Everybody loves pizza, right? Well, most everybody. This is a lot of times a tough one for folks. In the beginning, after your doctor releases you to eat regularly and you're not in the pureed stage anymore. Well, I guess you could puree it, but I don't know how appetizing that would be. Anyway, you can always just eat the toppings off the pizza. Now that I am further out, I will actually have pizza. I will order a thin crust pizza, and if they have a whole grain crust option, I'll have that instead. Just watch your toppings. Just order protein and veggies on there, and yeah, I mean, you can still have pizza after weight loss surgery. It's a process, and if you are a sleever and you develop reflux, it might not be the best option because of the tomato sauce, but yeah, you can have pizza after weight loss surgery. You just have to be very mindful of how you're ordering it. And now, instead of eating 4 or 5 pieces of thick crust pizza, I have 2 pieces of thin crust pizza. And the thin crust always comes in the little bitty squares anyway, so they're a lot smaller pieces. But yeah, guys, you can have pizza after weight loss surgery. Sure can. Desserts. We talked a little bit about that when I was talked about going out. Yeah, if it's a special treat for you and you decide to have a dessert, like I said, just take a few bites and enjoy every single bite. Eat it slowly, savor it, and enjoy it. Sometimes we have treats. Sometimes it's our birthday. Sometimes it's our anniversary. Sometimes it's a holiday and we want to have a special treat. And you can. When you're in the weight loss phase, you want to be very, very careful about that. But yeah, you can have a treat once in a while. It's going to be okay. Just don't overindulge. Just savor it and enjoy it while you can. Cravings. Cravings are hard. We have them before and you still have them after weight loss surgery. And I notice for me in particular, I have a lot more cravings around that time, if you know what I mean. So they can be difficult. This is how I handle it, and this will not necessarily work for everybody. This is just what works for me. If I'm having a craving, I try to just get my mind off of it and go, you know, take a walk or go work on a hobby or go edit a video in my case, or go record a video or do a tour that I need to do. But there are times when those cravings just won't go away for me. So if it's something sweet and I have something sweet in the house, I might take a bite or two and the craving will be gone. I'll go ahead and just indulge myself a little bit and then it's gone. Now, it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. I've heard a lot of people say that they can't do that they can't even have it in the house. But for me personally, that sets me up for failure, and that's when I want to binge eat. If I'm having a craving and I don't satisfy it and it just keeps building and building and building, I'll finally give in and I'll run out and grab a box of cookies, and that's when I find myself binge eating. So I find for me personally it works better if I just go ahead and try to satisfy that craving by having 2 or 3 bites of something to satisfy it and then move on. The more I fight it, the worse it's going to be for me. But that's me personally. All right, guys, that is my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any tips for any pre-oppers or newly post-op weight loss surgery folks, drop them in the comments below. There could be something that I didn't cover or didn't think of that you can add to the conversation. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.